Hi, my name is Casey King, and I'm the CTO at LifeSize Communications. And thanks for the invite to be able to present at the IMTC virtual conference. I've got a short presentation, so I'll go ahead and start that now. And so I'm assuming we should all be seeing this. Again, I'm Casey, and I work at LifeSize. Our business is to make hardware endpoints, hardware infrastructure, software, video communication solutions. This is the same slide I started with at the IMTC virtual CTO conference last year in New Jersey. So it's nice to be back. The picture on the right is just a placeholder to show, that it's fun to come to these types of events. It's I learn more than I give back, for sure. So I'll certainly be looking forward to learning as much information as I can from this conference. My contact info is below, and there's multiple ways to get a hold of me. First, by my email. Second, you can call my video endpoint by IP address. Third, you can call a SIP URI, which will ring my phone, my iPad, my desktop, my endpoint. I use Twitter a lot, so that's a great way to get a hold of me. For desktop video, if I don't have LifeSize around, then I'll use Google+. And then phone, I use my mobile only. So a couple things to point out as far as unified communication is this list last year was probably twice as long. So there's a lot of things. So that's good. We're starting to get to a smaller number, and there's some things that have dropped off completely. Probably the most notable being Skype. I don't really use Skype for video anymore. And the second one is I have no landline. I have no landline in my office, and I have no landline at home. So definitely mobile only. So let's go ahead and get started with what I wanted to talk about. And my perspective is kind of the future of our business, which is hardware in nature, hardware endpoints and hardware infrastructure. So three things. Usually I talk about three things. First is Extinction. Talk a little bit about Extinction and kind of the mythology around Extinction. And second is to pick a few of those reality topics and address those. And then I want to finish up with just some larger trends that we're looking at. I do want to make the point that when you talk about 2025, in such a long time horizon, I think it's really, it's really difficult to be able to predict what's going to happen. And as a point of that, I mean, it wasn't 5 years ago before we had an iPhone, less than that since an iPad, and the entire switch to mobility has been fast and furious, and something that you would not have predicted in a session like this 10 years ago. So we have to, we want to stay nimble and stay. Be very reactive to take advantage of opportunities that present ourselves. So first one is around Extinction. So Extinction is really predicted by the pundits, by the media, by other competitors. And here's just a handful of those. One is Information Week, talking about the video conferencing disconnect and the issues around interoperability. The second is Forbes, which is calling out two of the large competitors in this space. Are they in trouble around telepresence and room-based video conferencing? Recently, just a couple days ago, there was the Amazon CTO started laying out some predictions, ultimately rendering legacy hardware extinct as if they're the dinosaurs, and that's kind of the theme I'm using in this talk. And then even the analysts, in a Gartner report. A fairly comprehensive report published back in the spring, is identifying that the market's expected to change dramatically over the next few years. So let's just assume that that assumption is correct, and that the hardware vendors, are on the verge of being destroyed. What killed these hardware dinosaurs? Was it an impact event? Was it cloud computing? Was it soft clients? Was it a new technology like H.264 Annex G? Was it ubiquity in mobile devices? What exactly killed the hardware dinosaurs? Or was it something that did the dinosaurs just get fat and lazy and just and let all this happen to themselves. So I would say that it's neither. I mean, we have neither been impacted. LifeSize has neither been impacted by an impact event, and we certainly haven't been fat or lazy over the past 5 years. So let's take a couple of those. So to quote Mark Twain, the reports of my death have been greatly exaggerated, and I think that that's the case for enterprise video conferencing about people that make devices that go into rooms. So reality check number one: the hardware endpoints are dead. This is just flat out nonsense. And what I would say for that is while I used to watch a movie, I might rent a movie from iTunes on this particular device. I never watch a movie on this particular device anymore. I mean, I'll always watch it on my iPad. If my iPad's not available, then I'll watch it on my desktop. If my desktop's not available, I'll watch it on my Apple TV. So there's a continuum of devices that I want to connect to where I want to consume content. If you go to watch a Regal Cinemas movie, they're playing a bumper now which is called "Go Big or Go Home," and they start with a full HD video of an explosion and kind of an action scene, and then they narrow it down smaller, and smaller until ultimately it's on a smartphone. And then the taglines: "Movies were never meant to be seen on a screen this small." So there is definitely a continuum of places. There is a place to do video communications on a mobile device. There's a place to do it on a tablet device, on a desktop, and there's absolutely, if you have enterprise video conferencing on large screens, then once you go there, you'll reluctantly go back to smaller screens. Last year in New Jersey, I talked about the evolution of video compression, and that's what the picture below kind of denotes. I worked at Apple for the QuickTime team for 10 years, and up at the very, very top, it's probably very, very difficult to see. You'll see some of the first images that we came out of the QuickTime team at 160 by 120 at 5 frames per second, and the evolution went to 320 by 240, which is the picture of Sarah McLachlan, and then the picture of the motorcycle at 720 by 480. And now we're getting into 1920 by 1080 and even 4K kind of resolution. So there is a progression of events. Hardware endpoints are not dead at all. They will live for a long time to come. It will be a growing market. But what you'll also see is a much faster growing market of soft clients and other ways to deploy it. So that's the first one. Hardware endpoints are not dead. The second one is you need like a higher education to actually use this stuff. And this one is partially true. And you have to ask the question, do you really care about all the firewall NAT traversal standards that are out there? Do you care about all the G.audio codecs, Annex G for video, signaling protocols, baseline and main profile, profiles and levels, with video codecs, legacy video codecs like H.263 and 261, the ability to take an HDMI interface and extend it over long halls and large auditoriums, wide dynamic range, BFCP, Mode 2Q, Mode 2S. Do you really care about these things? Because if you do, I can assure you that the people that use our equipment don't care about it. And that the reality of it just needs to work. And not only in the way that we interop with other devices, but also the way that we integrate and connect in with applications that allow us to do very, very differentiated things like streaming, recording, broadcasting, multi-point, and things like that. The other thing is it needs to just get much simpler, both in the room and from the way administrators deploy it. And this is not a product pitch for LifeSize, but we recently released a new phone at the beginning of this year, which I can tell you has been revolutionary in the way that our customers find out about the services that they can actually use and discover that they can do recording, discovering that they can use the bridge transparently, discovering how to do a local presentation. So the user interface in our business will certainly simplify, where the need to be a highly skilled user or deployer of the technology will disappear. The third one is around infrastructure. The user, and I'm just going to take bridging as one case. The user says, I want to see a group of people. And there's a big debate in the industry today talking about purpose-built appliances. They're too expensive. They're going to be replaced by soft MCUs. And in some cases, they'll be replaced by technologies like SBC or transcoderless types of bridging infrastructure or routing. And I would say that all three of these have a place. The purpose-built appliances are plummeting in price. And to give you an example of that, this is the video encoder board that we used on the very first LifeSize room system that we shipped in December of 2007. And this card cost us, our cost was $500 to make that. Today, the encoding solution in an endpoint from LifeSize today costs less than $15. And in the future, the cost of encoding will be less than $2. So the ability to do purpose-built appliances for high performance will still be here for a long, long time. That will be the place where new technologies like H.265 get deployed first. But there will certainly be instances of soft MCUs and transcoderless types of technologies as well. To the point where video conferencing will be, and it already is. It'll be delivered as an application that the IT guys will find just as easy to deploy as any other infrastructure application that they deploy through virtual machines, applications that allow you to grow as your needs change over time. You can trial it very, very easily, and that's certainly a big trend, in our industry. So longer term trends. Last year, whenever I would talk publicly, I would talk about one of three things. In some cases, all three of them. The first one, if you don't follow Mary Meeker and some of the data analysis that she does, I highly recommend that you do. This was the one on the left, Internet Trends, was done last October. But the whole point of the Internet Trends is just about mobility. Being able to connect lots of different devices. Being able to call from any device, anytime, anywhere to any other type of video conferencing device is a huge, huge opportunity. In the middle is about software eating the world, and this is: are we at a point where the hardware development is dead? And is completely going to be replaced by software? And I would say absolutely not. That's not the case. Although we, even as a hardware manufacturer, 90% of the work we do is software. So we have feet firmly in both camps. But there are absolutely things that you cannot do today on a software-only platform. And that's what we strive to do, is provide the best quality of experience to our customers. And in the cases where that requires hardware, we do hardware. And in the cases where it doesn't, then we will provide it in software. And the third theme was around burning platforms. What happens when the platform that you've been working on for 7 years all of a sudden is under assault? And there are lots of examples around this, Nokia being one, Blockbuster being another. But every industry, every place that you look, RIM being a third one. What happens when your platform gets assaulted, and how do you pivot, and how do you change, and how do you innovate, to maintain your competitive advantage? So, at a high level, the challenges that are presented to us, we have the ability as technologists and system architects to be able to build very, very powerful codecs, endpoints, appliances that go into the rooms at very, very low cost that are far more powerful than anything that you've ever seen to date. So that's a force on one side. A force on the other side is we have much, much more complex infrastructure, and our goal and the people that will be rewarded are the people that can combine all of those assets in a way that is much, much simpler. So those are the two forces: cheaper and more powerful, and on the other side is more complex, but you want to make them simpler. We look at areas where we talk about linear change, and an example of linear change is just the progression of codec technology, video codec technology, that may take 10 years to go from H.261 to 263 and 4 and 265. And then nonlinear change, which is something happens like mobility that just really changes everything. So a vertical that I wanted to pick out to talk about is education, because this is a vertical that I believe is very ripe for change. education for all the people in the video communication ecosystems is one of their most important verticals, ours as well as our competitors. In 2012, in the fall semester of 2012, at Sarah Lawrence College, which is a small private college up in New York, the tuition for the first time ever is going to exceed $60,000 per year. And they're not an outlier, because in the U.S. there's over 120 colleges and universities where the college tuition is over $50,000 a year. College debt exceeded credit card debt in this country, in the U.S., starting in 2010. The most recent estimates has been that college debt is over $1 trillion. And it's a really bad kind of debt, because you can never be forgiven. You can't go into bankruptcy to get rid of it. We're burdening our young people with this for their entire life. The average student loan debt is $25,000. And then when this problem starts to become big enough, then you start to see some pretty interesting solutions. And iTunes University has been around for quite a while. Apple released a new app very recently to help generate content. But they're not the only guys. The Khan Academy, if you haven't gone up to the Khan Academy, I highly suggest you go up and look around. I mean, it's revolutionizing the way that K through 12 is being taught. And then it's being brought out to a higher level with companies like Udacity, Codecademy, Coursera, MITx, edX. edX is a consortium between MIT and Harvard to put a lot of their content online. And this phenomena is called MOOC, for Massive Open and Online Courses. And I'm going to give you two examples. Both of these are examples of courses that I'm currently taking, just for fun, just to kind of see how this is all shaping out. One is through iTunes. It's a tenured professor at Yale called Robert Schiller. Some of you guys may have heard of him, but he's one of the brightest minds in finance and economics in the country. He teaches at Yale. Anyone in the world can go down and listen to this course. It's a one-to-many. It's as if you're sitting in the auditorium and listening to an hour and 15-minute lecture. The problem I have is I usually listen to it at night, and usually about halfway through I fall asleep, and the next time I have to kind of pick up where I left off. But the material is fascinating, very, very good. The second one is there's a professor that used to teach at Stanford. His name is Sebastian Thrun. Last year he brought an online Stanford class. He brought a Stanford class online. It was an introduction to artificial intelligence. The whole thing for free to anybody in the world. Quizzes, grades, a certificate of completion. With one email, 160,000 students enrolled in his class. More students from Lithuania enrolled in this class than the total enrollment at Stanford. And almost 250 online got a perfect score, but not one of them attended from Stanford. The physical class dwindled down in size from 200 down to 30 because the other people started consuming the lecture material online. And then Sebastian, at the end of it, gave up his tenure to start a company called Udacity. And now Udacity is the place where I'm taking a second class, and the experience could not be more different than it is from the iTunes U. In this one, every week there's about 40 different snippets of instruction, each of them video-based, that's 1 to 3 minutes long. And at the end of that, you're asked to interact with it, either write some code, answer a short quiz, but you're encouraged to interact with it, and it's a fantastic learning environment. There's lots of classes at Udacity, Codecademy. If you haven't explored it, go check it out. But we're at the infancy of a way that we're teaching people how to learn in a different way. And we, as video collaborators and video vendors, we should take notice of this nonlinear change in the way that people are learning. Last slide that I've got is on other things. Certainly the cloud is important to us. In a lot of ways, cloud computing is it's a great marketing term, but it's really just an evolution of what's been going on for quite a while of just network computing. And as the machines that are available to us become more powerful, then we're able to deploy them in ways that solve video communication problems. So that's certainly a large trend. Another one is new codecs. Every 10 years there's a new codec, and this next decade is going to be no different than the last one. If you have not seen H.265, it's a phenomenal new codec and offers us a huge amount of opportunities as we move to that in the next 5 years. The protocol, the standard will be ratified the first part of next year, and you'd expect to start seeing solutions around this in 2013 and 2014. RTC Web, bringing lightweight clients or no weight clients into the web browser directly. YouTube's another phenomenon where it's really changing. It's changing the way that people are broadcasting video to a lot of people. In the same way that network TV, cable TV, and now YouTube is really allowing a lot of people to have a voice in a way that they never had before. Unified communication, I picked Microsoft Link as one of those, although there are others. I mean, that's a big trend for us. And then just the simplification theme. I can't overemphasize this enough. Certainly at LifeSize, we're really spending a lot of time working on simplifying our solutions, both for users and the people who deploy and buy our equipment. And then standards bodies are important for us. The first three we participate in: UCIF, IMTC, which this forum, ITU, and others. So there's a lot going on in the video space. I mean, as a hardware vendor and a software supplier in this space, I mean, it's very, very fast moving, and I always say, we're working on more things today than we ever have in the history of the company, and today is no problem. So again, I want to close by thanking IMTC for allowing me the opportunity to reach out and have a few minutes to talk to everyone. And feel free to contact me through any of the ways I had on the first slide. I would love to hear from you. So thank you very much, and that's it for me.